This is TechCrunch. Lachy Groom, one of Silicon Valley's most closely watched solo investors, decided to back Indian startup Pronto just 20 minutes into his first meeting with its 24-year-old founder. The meeting, which took place in February through a mutual connection, led to Groom investing $20 million in Pronto as an extension of its Series B round, valuing the startup at $200 million after the investment, double its valuation just over 2 months earlier. The deal came together within weeks, bringing the solo investor on board as the Bengaluru-based startup expands to meet growing demand for on-demand home services in India. Groom said he was drawn to Pronto's ambition to build what he called the world's largest platform for organizing domestic labor, starting with India's vast and largely unstructured workforce. The work underneath that is genuinely hard, and most attempts in adjacent categories have struggled with the operational discipline. Well, Anjali Sardana and her team were operating at a level I haven't seen elsewhere in this space. Before founding Pronto last year, Sardana worked at Bain Capital and venture firm 8VC, where she gained early exposure to investing and high-growth startups. The startup connects households with workers for everyday tasks, such as cleaning and basic home services. The introduction was arranged through Paul Hudson, founder of Gladebrook Capital, who connected Groom and Sardana during her trip to San Francisco earlier this year. Gladebrook has backed startups founded by both Pronto, which Sardana leads, and Physical Intelligence, where Groom is a co-founder. Hudson and Groom have also backed Indian quick commerce startup Zepto. Sardana said Groom's investment approach is heavily founder-driven. He indexes two things. One is the founder, and that's 95% of it. If he loves the founder, then he will invest. Sardana added that the rest comes down to the scale and potential of the business. Now, Groom's bet comes as a clutch of startups in India race to build instant home services platforms, a category that is seeing rapid adoption among urban households as more consumers turn to on-demand help for everyday tasks. The opportunity is significant. A recent Bank of America note reviewed by TechCrunch estimates the instant home services market in India could grow into a $15 to $18 billion industry by the end of the decade, as companies including Pronto, Snabit, and urban companies InstaHelp compete for share in this fast-growing category. Competition is intensifying with heavy capital inflows and aggressive pricing, particularly to attract first-time users. Bank of America estimates that Snabit and urban companies InstaHelp each account for about 40% of the market, while Pronto has around a 20% share, even as it scales rapidly. The category is expected to remain burn-heavy over the next 2 to 3 years. Despite trailing larger rivals, Pronto has been scaling rapidly, growing from around 18,000 bookings a day to 26,000 in just over a month. The startup is focused on driving repeat usage, betting that turning occasional demand into frequent habit-driven usage will be key to winning the category, with its top 10% of users accounting for about 40% of bookings. This growth has also brought challenges, particularly in building out supply. Pronto has expanded its network of service workers to 6,500, up from 1,400 in January, but Sardana said demand continues to outpace supply, making forecasting and capacity management key challenges as the startup grows. Genesis AI, a startup that raised a $105 million seed round to build foundational AI for robotics, has unveiled its first model, Gene 26.5, and it comes with surprise hands. In a demo video, the company showcased various advanced tasks performed by a set of robotic hands it has designed in-house. Genesis co-founder and CEO Zhao Xian told TechCrunch that the model has always been the goal because a better model means better intelligence. But the company soon realized that it needed control over the hardware, so they decided to go full stack. Other well-funded companies operate at the intersection of AI and robotics, such as Physical Intelligence and Skilled AI. Zhao also acknowledged that there's probably 50 or 100 robotic hand companies out there, But he and his co-founder, Théophile Gervais, hope that building their own will give them the upper hand. Now, the key difference is that Genesis's hand has the same size and shape as a human hand, rather than the two-finger grippers many robotics companies have been using, reducing the gap with real-world conditions. Gervais, a former research scientist at Mistral AI, who is now Genesis's president, said, "That lets us collect a lot more data than was previously possible to train a model that can do many more tasks." Now, of all the physical manipulation tasks showcased in the video, Gervais' personal favorite is cooking because it proves that the robot has been able to complete a long series of difficult tasks, such as cracking an egg and slicing a tomato. But Genesis has also tasked its robots with preparing smoothies, playing the piano, and solving a Rubik's Cube, a robotics gimmick. Other tasks, such as lab work, are closer to what could be the commercial applications of their technology, but what happens behind the scenes is just as important. The startup has also developed a sensor-loaded glove that works as a real-life double of its robotic hand, collecting data that can more readily be used. Zhao said that the idea was that if they could design a robotic hand that tries to mimic a human hand as much as possible, well, they can instantly unlock huge amounts of human data without having to worry about what people call the embodiment gap in robotics research. Others have tried their hand at that problem. The main novelty is how Genesis combines this with its model. The current version is named Gene 26.5 for May 2026, but Zhao expects there will be many iterations thanks to the simulation it has developed, saying the real bottleneck for the iteration speed of the model is evaluation, so this helps us speed up model training a lot. Beyond simulation, though, data will be key to training models that can help robots perform more tasks. That's also where Genesis's glove could come in handy. Gervais said that unlike clunky data collection devices that get in the way, it is just as light and easy to wear as the security gloves already used in many industries, while relatively cheap to make. Gervais said, "We're in talks with a lot of customers right now, and a lot of the value of the glove would be that, well, for the first time, you can wear the data collection device when you're doing your daily job, whether it's a lab technician for pharma or for manufacturing. This would also be complemented by egocentric video data, people filming themselves during the task." Now, it remains to be seen whether workers would be happy to wear the very gloves and cameras that could train robots to, at some point along the line, replace them, and whether they will get extra pay for that training. That will be between Genesis's customers and their employees. Gervais suggested that we haven't quite nailed down the details yet. Either way, they may decide not to share that data with the startup, the founders acknowledged, but the startup also has avenues of its own to build its human skill library. It could also pay third-party partners to collect data. Its model is already trained on massive amounts of human-based internet videos, according to a press release that did not mention compensation. Combined with its simulation system, this could help Genesis lower the costs of its technology for real-world applications, like the one it has demonstrated. Google's former CEO Eric Schmidt, who invested in the startup, said this marks an important milestone for their team and the robotics industry more broadly. In July of last year, just a few months after its creation, the startup had emerged from stealth with a $105 million seed round co-led by Eclipse and Khosla Ventures. Now, this funding helped Genesis increase its headcount. With offices in Paris and California, it has also expanded to London. Aside from hiring, the company also plans to reveal its first general-purpose robot shortly, which Zhao told TechCrunch will be a full-body robot, not just hands, but he insisted that the roadmap is still the same. Our goal is to build the most capable robotic system. That's all for now. For more stories like these, go to TechCrunch.com.